You are kind, you are helpful, you are careful not to upset anyone. Yet somehow, you keep ending up in the same scene. You are in a meeting, you finally speak up, and within seconds someone talks over you. Your idea gets ignored, then praised when someone else repeats it. Friends say you are so nice, but they cancel on you, show up late, and treat your plans as optional. You are liked, but you are not respected. This is confusing and painful. You walk away from conversations thinking, why did I let that slide again? You promise yourself you will speak up next time, draw a line, say no. Then the moment comes, your chest tightens, your brain freezes, and a soft, polite version of you takes over. You smile, you nod, you say, it's fine, no worries, even when it is not fine at all. And guess what? People believe you. Most people assume the problem is simple. You are just too nice, and respect belongs to louder, harsher personalities. However, this view is completely misguided. The problem is that your brain is running an old survival script. It is not chasing respect. It is chasing approval, because approval once meant safety. In other words, your nervous system still thinks being agreeable is the only way to stay in the tribe and avoid danger. Here's the most important detail. Your lack of respect is not a personality defect. It is a design issue. The human brain did not evolve to prioritize firm boundaries, clear standards, and long-term status. It evolved to conserve energy, avoid conflict, and grab immediate comfort. This is because, for most of human history, saying no, standing apart, or confronting someone could literally threaten your survival. In this scenario, your modern environment sends one message, but your ancient wiring sends another. Modern society rewards people who are assertive, consistent, and disciplined about their time and values. Yet your brain keeps pushing you toward behaviors that feel safe in the moment. Over-apologizing, soft language, laughing things off, letting disrespect slide. These habits quietly signal low status, even while your intentions are kind. Psychologists call this the liking-respect gap. Research shows we aim to be liked, but long-term influence and trust come from self-discipline and boundaries, not from being endlessly easygoing. People do not respect you for being easy to get along with. They respect you for being hard to move, and that starts with how you move yourself. The good news is that you do not need to become a jerk to be respected. You need to redesign how your brain experiences discipline. In this video, you will see exactly why people do not respect you, how your own brain is tricking you into disrespectful patterns, and how to trick that same brain into finding reward and even comfort in the small, uncomfortable actions that create real respect. By the end, nice but invisible will no longer be your default setting. So if nice but invisible has been your default, there is a reason. Your brain was never designed for respect. It was designed for survival. For most of human history, you lived in a tiny tribe, maybe 50, 100 people. If they liked you, you ate. If they rejected you, you were alone with predators, disease, and no backup. In other words, social rejection did not just feel bad, it was life-threatening. So your brain wired itself to treat approval like oxygen. It learned that the safest strategy was simple. Avoid conflict. Stay agreeable. Do not stand out too much. Here's the most important detail. Your brain also had to conserve energy. Food was scarce, effort was expensive, and unnecessary confrontation burned both. This is because arguing with the hunter over whose turn it is to clean the tools did not increase your survival odds. Smiling, nodding, and going along did. So your ancient brain still pushes you toward comfort, harmony, and the path of least resistance, even when that path quietly destroys your self-respect. However, the problem is that modern society runs on a different rulebook. Today, you are not in a tribe of 100. You are in a company of 1,000, a city of millions, an online world of billions. In this scenario, people do not automatically protect you. just because you belong. They respect you when you are reliable, clear, and boundaried. Promotions, leadership roles, and even healthy relationships tend to go to the person who can say, "No, that does not work for me," and then hold that line. That requires discomfort. It requires delayed reward. It requires you to spend energy now, having the hard conversation, setting the boundary, following through, so your long-term life gets easier later. Your ancient brain hates this. It keeps whispering, "Just say yes. Keep them happy. Do it later." And guess what? Most days, that voice wins. Inside you, there is basically a scared ancient villager and a modern project leader sharing the same nervous system. One wants everyone to like you. The other needs to protect your time, your standards, and your self-respect. When you over-apologize for existing, when you let people interrupt you, when you take on extra work because you did not want to make it awkward, that is not proof that you are weak. It is proof that the villager is driving. So if you feel walked over, ignored in meetings, or strangely tired after every social interaction, it is not a character defect. It is an evolutionary mismatch. Your brain is still optimizing for immediate comfort instead of long-term respect. The shift is this: you do not need to be tougher through raw willpower. You need to redesign how your brain experiences discipline, boundaries, and respect-building behavior so they feel safer and more rewarding than people-pleasing. In the next section, you will see exactly how to start training that ancient villager to relax, and how to make small acts of self-respect feel like the new path of least resistance. So here is the authority check most people never do. The people you think are naturally respected are not running on more courage than you. They are running on better systems than you. Your brain sees the end result: calm no, clear boundary, steady eye contact, and assumes, wow, they're just built different. They are not. Their lives are just designed different. James Clear in Atomic Habits makes a simple but brutal point. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. And guess what? Respect works the exact same way. You do not get respected because you intend to be confident. You get respected because, day after day, your habits, rules, and tiny decisions make self-respect your default instead of self-betrayal. Here's the most important detail. Real respect does not come from being nice. It comes from discipline. Discipline in what you tolerate, what you say yes to, and how you treat your own time. In other words, people are not judging your personality as much as they are watching your patterns. Do you cancel your own plans the moment someone else asks for a favor? Do you say sorry 8 times in one email? Do you laugh off comments that actually hurt? That is a system. It is just a system that trains others to ignore your needs. The people you see as naturally respected are playing a different game. On the surface, they look relaxed. Inside, they are following invisible rules. No work calls after 8 p.m., no agreeing on the spot to big requests, no apologizing unless they actually did something wrong. This is because they have quietly decided that their brain, their energy, and their time are not free public resources. Their discipline broadcasts a simple message: my comfort matters too. And other people adjust. Long-term research on self-discipline backs this up. Think of the famous marshmallow test follow-ups. Kids who could delay an immediate reward tended to end up with higher income, better health, and higher status decades later. The problem is that we hear this and think, so I just need more willpower. No. The real lesson is that impulse control and long-term thinking create lives that automatically attract more respect. Pattern interrupt. Imagine 2 versions of you walk into a room. Same face, same clothes, same level of niceness. The only difference? Version 1 has a rule: never say yes immediately. Version 2 says yes to keep the peace. 10 conversations later, which version is treated like a leader? In this scenario, you do not need to suddenly become bold or confrontational. You will learn how to build small, disciplined behaviors that feel safe for your brain, but send a new signal to the world. Tiny pauses before you answer. Tiny limits on your availability. Tiny moments where you choose discomfort over automatic comfort. These are the systems that retrain your brain and teach people to finally respect you. In the next section, you will see exactly how to build those micro rules into your daily environment so that acting with self-respect becomes easier than people-pleasing. Those tiny rules only matter if you believe one thing first. You are not weak because you are nice. You are not broken because you hate conflict. What you are feeling is the pain of a strategy that used to protect you, turning against you in modern society. Think about your real day-to-day moments. Someone makes a slightly hurtful joke or dumps extra work on you at the last minute. Your chest tightens, your brain lights up with a dozen objections, and you hear yourself say, "It's fine." It is not fine. You know it is not fine. But your mouth still chooses comfort over confrontation. Later, you replay that conversation in the shower, in bed, on the way to work. You script the perfect response you should have said. You overthink every text. Is this okay? Does this sound rude? Should I add another smiley face? In other words, you spend more energy managing other people's possible reactions than living your own actual life. And guess what? You probably apologize for existing. "Sorry, can I ask a question?" "Sorry, is this seat taken?" "Sorry, I just had an idea." The problem is that your brain thinks this keeps you safe. It lowers your visible status, so you are less likely to be attacked, judged, or abandoned. But to everyone else, this pattern quietly says, "My time and needs are less important than yours." Here's the most important detail. I am not going to shame you for that. This video will never attack you for being kind, sensitive, or conflict avoidant. Kindness is a strength. Empathy is a strength. The issue is discipline and boundaries. Kindness without discipline gets misread as weakness. Empathy without boundaries looks like low standards. In this scenario, your people-pleasing becomes an emotional trap. You keep saying yes to protect the relationship, but inside, resentment builds. You feel used, invisible, and secretly angry at yourself. Over time, that self-hate erodes your self-respect. And this is because your brain sees you breaking your own standards again and again. That inner collapse does not stay hidden. It leaks into your posture, your tone, your micro-decisions. You hesitate before you speak. You laugh when you're uncomfortable. You back down the second someone pushes. Other people feel that. They may like you, but they do not respect you. You are not failing at confidence. You are following an outdated survival strategy. Your brain was trained to avoid immediate discomfort at all costs. Now, you are going to learn a new strategy. One that aligns kindness with strength, so your warmth does not cost you your dignity. In the next part, we will go one layer deeper into the brain itself. Why does it push you so hard toward comfort, even when it destroys your long-term respect? What ancient survival rules are still running your reactions today? And how are they silently killing respect in your modern life? Stay with this, because once you see that wiring, everything you tolerate now will start to look very different. So let's open the hood on this respect problem and look at the actual machine that's running it, your brain. Because on the surface, it looks like you are just too nice. Underneath, something very different is happening. Your brain has a simple priority list. Survival first, comfort second, energy conservation third. That is the ancient order. In other words, your brain does not wake up thinking, "How can I maximize my long-term respect in modern society today?" It wakes up thinking, "How do I avoid pain, avoid rejection, and spend as little effort as possible?" And guess what? It is extremely good at that job. Here's the most important detail. Your brain loves cognitive ease. Anything that feels familiar, low effort, and low conflict gets an automatic green light. This is because low conflict usually meant low danger. So when you over-apologize, soften your language, look down, or say yes even when every cell in your body wants to say no, your brain gives you a tiny reward, relief. The tension drops, your heart rate slows, you feel safe again. The problem is that this short-term safety signal quietly destroys long-term respect. Each time you avoid eye contact to dodge a tough moment, you also dodge an opportunity to show strength. Each time you say, "Sorry, this might be stupid," but your brain relaxes, yet you train everyone listening to rank you one step lower. You walk away thinking, "Why did I do that again?" Because your brain is optimizing for comfort, not status. To really see this, you have to go back in time. Imagine a harsh environment where food is scarce, winters are brutal, and your tribe is your only protection. In this scenario, rocking the boat could get you thrown out of the group. Disagreeing with the wrong person was not awkward, it was dangerous. So your ancestors survived by smoothing things over, by avoiding open conflict, by reading every micro-expression as a potential threat. Fast forward to modern society. Your brain still treats mild social tension like a lion attack. A coworker interrupting you in a meeting? Your nervous system reacts as if your place in the tribe is at risk. So it pushes you to stay quiet, laugh it off, be easy, comfort now, respect later, maybe. This is your comfort over respect bias, the default setting where your brain will choose immediate emotional comfort over long-term respect unless you deliberately retrain it. So the causal chain looks like this. Evolution wired your brain for belonging and energy saving. That wiring makes you avoid the discomfort of being assertive. That avoidance turns into micro-behaviors, soft voice, weak boundaries, constant apologies, that signal low self-respect. Other people's brains then mirror what you broadcast and treat you as lower status without ever thinking about it. In the next part, we will flip this script. How do you retrain that ancient wiring so discipline, boundaries, and self-respect start to feel safer than people-pleasing? So here's the uncomfortable truth. You can be deeply liked and quietly dismissed at the exact same time. People laugh at your jokes, they vent to you, they say you're so nice, and still don't take your ideas seriously, don't protect your time, and don't see you as someone whose no actually means no. This is the liking-respect gap. On the surface, everything looks fine. Underneath, their brain has filed you under pleasant low priority. In other words, they enjoy the comfort you bring, but they don't feel any real weight when you speak. This is because, at a brain level, respect is tied to perceived strength and predictability, not warmth. Research on assertiveness shows this clearly. When someone states their needs calmly and directly, they're rated as more competent and more trustworthy, even when people disagree with them. Why? Because clear standards are easier for the brain to map. You become a stable part of the social environment, not a variable. Now compare that to the habits most too nice people run on autopilot. You over-explain every decision so nobody feels bad. You say, "sorry," when someone else bumps into you. Your sentences are padded with, "maybe, kind of, if that's okay," as if you need a permission slip just to exist. Someone makes a disrespectful comment, you laugh it off, then replay it in your head for 3 days. And of course, you're always available, anytime, any change, any favor. And guess what? None of this feels dramatic in the moment. It feels like saving energy, avoiding conflict, keeping the immediate reward of harmony. But to other people's brains, these micro-signals all say the same thing. My standards are flexible. My time is cheap. You can move me. In this scenario, you become the always available, yes to everything person. You are liked for your convenience, not respected for your discipline. You get invited when someone needs help moving, but not when they need a decisive voice in the room. People assume you will adjust, because you always do. Now contrast that with the calm, boundaried person. They answer, "I can't do that today, but Thursday at 3 works," instead of, "Whenever is fine, I'll make it work." They don't rush to fill every silence with explanations. They rarely apologize for existing. They only apologize when they've actually done something wrong. And then they do something crucial. They consistently deliver on what they agreed to. Here's the most important detail. People don't respect you for being easy to move. They respect you for being grounded, consistent, and hard to push off your standards. That is not personality magic. That is disciplined habit design. Every time you choose a clear no over a resentful yes, you're training your brain that discomfort is survivable. You're also training everyone else's brain that your boundaries are real. In the next part, we'll turn this into a system. How to rewire your environment and routines so assertive, high-respect behavior becomes the effortless default, not a heroic effort. So when you start saying clear no's and enforcing boundaries, something else quietly changes in the background. The micro moments. The tiny, almost invisible decisions where you either back yourself or betray yourself. Here's the most important detail. You are training people how to treat you every single day. Not with big inspirational speeches, with what you tolerate, with how quickly you abandon your own needs the moment someone else frowns, sighs, or sends you a quick question. Think about your phone. It buzzes at 10:47 p.m. It's not urgent, but your brain wants that immediate reward of being seen as reliable, so you answer instantly, again at 6:12 a.m., again during dinner. In other words, you're building a 24/7 customer service brand with no pay and no closing hours. And guess what? People learn that your time is always available, so they stop valuing it. In this scenario, it feels harmless. It is just a message, just a small interruption. But your nervous system is watching. Every time you drop what you're doing to respond, your brain files a quiet note. Their needs first, mine later. Over weeks and months, that becomes your identity. Not just to you, but to everyone around you. The same thing happens in conversations. You start a sentence, someone interrupts, and you instantly shrink back. "Oh, sorry. Go ahead." You never finish your thought. You laugh it off. You say, "No worries," even though you are annoyed. The problem is that this becomes the script. People learn that it is safe to talk over you, safe to inconvenience you, safe to ignore your preferences, because there is never a visible cost. Nonverbal research is brutal about this. Within seconds, posture, eye contact, and vocal tone signal status. Slumped shoulders, a hesitant, trailing voice, and eyes that keep darting away tell the room, "I do not expect to be prioritized." This is because your body is broadcasting low importance before your words even arrive. Other people's brains, trying to conserve energy, take the shortcut. Low status signals, low urgency. This is where self-betrayal comes in. Every time you override your own boundary to keep someone else comfortable, your brain learns a lesson about hierarchy. I come last. Your self-respect drops a little, and external respect follows. People may like you. They may enjoy how easy you are, but they do not rearrange their schedule for someone who clearly will always rearrange theirs. Discipline here is not about one dramatic confrontation. It is about a series of tiny, disciplined micro-choices, letting the non-urgent message wait, finishing your sentence after an interruption, replacing "no worries" with "that actually doesn't work for me." Each one costs a bit of comfort, but buys back self-respect. And these repetitions do something powerful. They rewire both your brain and everyone else's expectations. The more you act like a person whose time and energy matter, the more natural it feels, and the more others adjust around you. So how do you make those micro-choices automatic, instead of another exhausting willpower battle you keep losing at 11 p.m.? That is where your environment, your routines, and a very specific kind of habit design come in next. Discipline is where respect actually starts, not out there, in how loudly you speak or how confident you look. It starts in the quiet, boring moments when nobody is watching and you either do what you said you'd do, or you don't. Most people hear discipline and think harsh self-punishment, military routines, and zero comfort. However, in this context, discipline is much simpler. It's the consistent act of keeping promises to yourself, especially when it's uncomfortable, especially when there's no immediate reward. That is the real backbone of self-respect. Here's the most important detail. Your brain builds your identity from your behavior, not from your intentions. Behavioral science calls this self-perception. You watch what you do and then decide who you are. In other words, every time you follow through on a tiny commitment, your brain quietly updates the story. I'm someone who can trust myself. Every time you break it, the opposite story forms just as fast. The problem is that we wait for big dramatic efforts to change that story. The 30-day challenge, the extreme diet, the all-night work sprint. And guess what? They almost never last, so your brain learns. I'm intense for 3 days, then I collapse. Research on habits shows that small, repeated actions, micro-habits, shape identity far more reliably than rare, heroic efforts. 2 minutes of reading every night will change how you see yourself faster than one weekend of book binging. This is because repeated, low-effort wins conserve energy, while still sending a powerful signal. I do what I say. That signal is the foundation of respect. First internally, then externally. Think about what happens when you keep promises to yourself around time blocks, sleep, or boundaries. You stop saying yes to every request. You stop sacrificing rest for one more episode or one more scroll. Your posture shifts slightly. Your tone becomes steadier. You answer, "I'm not available then," without over-explaining. People can feel that you are not easily moved. In this scenario, your self-discipline is doing the talking before your mouth even opens. Nonverbal research shows that posture, eye contact, and vocal tone shape people's perception of your status within seconds. When you respect your own limits, your body language stops apologizing for existing. You take up just enough space. You don't shrink. Let's make this painfully concrete. Someone decides on one tiny rule. No phone for the first 15 minutes of the day. That's it. No miracle morning, no 20-step routine. The first few days, their brain screams for that immediate dopamine hit. Their hand twitches toward the nightstand, but they stay with the discomfort. By day 7, something subtle happens. Those 15 minutes feel spacious. They drink water. They stretch. They actually hear their own thoughts before the noise of modern society floods in. After a few weeks, saying, "I'll reply later," no longer feels like a crime against humanity. They've practiced delaying one small reward, so it becomes easier to protect bigger blocks of time. Their self-respect leaks into every interaction. And here's the reframe most people miss. You don't need to become a jerk to be respected. You need to become disciplined about your standards. Your kindness should sit on top of a solid spine, not a shaky need for approval. When you are clear on your own rules and you actually follow them, people sense it. They may not always like it, but they trust it. So the real question is not, how do I make people respect me? The real question is, what are the small, non-negotiable promises I'm willing to keep with myself every single day? In the next part, we'll turn that question into a concrete system your brain can actually follow, even when motivation disappears. So now you have these tiny, non-negotiable promises. But there is still one problem. Your brain does not care about your promises. It cares about comfort, safety, and saving energy right now. Your brain is biased toward what neuroscientists call cognitive ease. Anything that feels risky or effortful gets tagged as dangerous. Saying no feels risky. Holding eye contact feels risky. Enforcing a boundary feels risky. This is because, in your brain's old survival map, conflict could mean rejection, and rejection could mean you are alone in the wild with no tribe. In other words, your nervous system reacts to a simple, "I can't do that today," almost like you just picked a fight with a bear. And guess what? When something feels like a bear attack, you avoid it. You over-explain. You apologize 3 times. You say yes, even though every cell in your body is screaming, no, not because you are weak, but because your brain is trying to protect you from discomfort. So we need a new trick. You cannot bully your brain into discipline with willpower. You have to train it. Think of each small boundary as a respect rep, just like you would not walk into a gym and try to lift 200 kilos on the first day. You do not start by confronting your boss in a meeting. You start tiny. You pause for 2 seconds before saying yes. You correct someone gently when they interrupt. You answer a message when you are ready instead of immediately. 1 rep, another rep, another. Here's the most important detail. A rep only builds a habit if the brain gets a reward immediately after. Not next year. Not when your life is finally perfect. Right now. So you pair the discomfort with a reward. The moment you say, "No, I can't do that today," you give yourself a deliberate hit of positive reinforcement, a quiet mental celebration, a tick on a streak tracker, a 5-second visualization of your future self, calm, respected, and unbothered. In this scenario, you are teaching your brain, boundary equals safety, boundary equals pride. Over time, this rewires the association. The thing that used to feel like danger starts to feel like progress. This is where gradual exposure comes in. You do not jump straight into high-stakes conflict. You start with low-stakes boundaries, where the worst outcome is someone is mildly annoyed. Ask for clarification instead of pretending you understood. Take longer to reply. Say, "I'll need to think about that." Each time your brain learns, I set a line. I did not die. I actually feel stronger. The fear response shrinks. And this is exactly what the next part is about. You will see how to design your environment, your routines, and even your calendar. So these respect reps become the easiest, most automatic choice you can make, even on the days your motivation completely disappears. So here is the harsh truth. People do not respect you because you have heroic moments of courage once every 3 months. They respect you because your boundaries show up every single day, almost on autopilot. And guess what? Autopilot is not about willpower. It is about design. Most people still try to fix their respect problem with motivation. Next time I'll speak up. Next time I'll say no. However, this view is completely misguided. Your brain is not built for repeated heroic effort. It is built for comfort, energy conservation, and immediate safety. The problem is that modern society rewards long-term reliability, not momentary bravery. So every time saying no feels like a threat to approval, your brain quietly votes for survival and silence. Here's the most important detail. You do not need more discipline in the moment. You need less decision-making in the moment. In other words, you design rules so the decision is already made before the discomfort shows up. You turn, "Should I answer this right now?" into, "I have a 24-hour response rule. Done." This is because systems protect you when your courage is tired. For example, you set, "Do not disturb windows on your phone and laptop from 9 to 11 a.m. every weekday." Those are non-negotiable focus blocks. You are not relying on willpower to ignore messages. Your environment simply hides them. In this scenario, you look more serious, more focused, more high value, while you are literally just obeying your calendar. Another